Hello, thanks for joining me for your in-depth monthly horoscope for February for the Sun and the Ascendant. If you have yet to subscribe to my channel, please click or tap on the bell notification symbol. If you'd like to talk to me directly, you can do so on Twitter, or if you'd like a one-to-one consultation, please see the link beneath this video and check out my testimonials. Also, if you want an immediate analysis of what the future holds for you based on your time, date and place of birth, my affordable written reports, you can get 30% off on a special offer. If you get your character analysis too, please see the link beneath this video as well. Hello Gemini, and welcome to your February forecast. Your ruler Mercury is in retrograde as this month begins. That's important. And because the gathering of energy where Mercury is located in your sister air sign of Aquarius is very much about expansion of your interests, it's about being more adventurous and independently minded, perhaps researching higher education. Mercury retrograde here points towards perhaps some kind of delay over a plan. We know that Mercury can be in its retrograde an inhibition, but it also can be an opportunity to revisit. So if in your situation you're not able to move around as freely as you would like, perhaps because of the COVID restrictions, this is a great time to go online, learn new skills, research different options, think about what you'd like to do when the lockdown is easing. So there can be an excitement despite the potential for some kind of frustration. But if you are involved in any kind of contractual situation, Mercury retrograde does seriously ask you to read the small print. But you were going to do that anyway, weren't you? And Venus joins up with the stellium of energy of the Sun, Mercury, Jupiter and Saturn in the sign of Aquarius on the very first day. And Venus being in your 9th house is about truth around your relationships. Now for the previous 28 days, Venus has been making its way through the part of your horoscope that's to do with very deep connections. And in that journey, it went into a conjunction with Pluto. So I think there may have been some politics around a close relationship, maybe some kind of change. Maybe it was financial, maybe it was to do with business, a partnership, or maybe it is purely to do with a romantic or family-based relationship. So Venus moving at the start of this month into your sector of the truth and higher knowledge and philosophy is asking you to get to a better point in how you're viewing things as far as you're concerned. It's not a judgment from me, it's how you feel, how peaceful you feel. But we do have some quite challenging influences beyond that retrograde, not least that in the first 10 days of this month, the Sun in Aquarius, which is very trailblazing and galvanizing. If we weren't having COVID, you almost certainly would be on the move, and quite a lot, and you may still, if you're able to do that for your profession, or you're in a part of the world that enables you to be more fluid at the present time. But that square suggests that if you are penned in, you're not able to do as you wish. It could be very frustrating because the 12th house where Mars and Uranus are located is a sector of tenderness. This is about the psychology of ourselves. It's also where we can have opposition from others that's not manifested in an open way. So it's known as secret enemies, just talking in traditional astrological terms. I don't want you to think that there are people there who are plotting against you actively. It's much more subtle than that. It's more about your fears and anxieties or insecurities can be amplified at this time. And of course, the way we think and the way we feel attracts the energy that we're manifesting. So it's going to be important to keep your vibration high, but also to try to manage your frustration, because Uranus in the 12th house of your chart is shaking up your nervous system. It has been since the middle of May 2018 to the middle of November I think 2018, and from March the 7th 19, ever since then it's been shaking up your nervous system. So if you have been feeling on edge, there is a potential for that to continue. So the best way to head that off is through knowledge. It's through information. Now you're someone who often can quote lots of different pieces of information because you're such a bubbly character. You love to use your mind. You are an air sign, so communication is what defines you. So I would say that Mercury retrograde, use that to try to inform yourself more, but Venus moving into that area really asks you to get to the truth of a situation. Now, if you do get chatting to someone during the time that Venus is going through Aquarius, which is through to the 24th of this month, don't be surprised if they live overseas, they come from a different background, they have different views to you. There's something fresh, different and inspiring about such a person. But it may just be the tonic you need, because your desire to feed yourself with new spontaneous sparks of energy is something which really defines you. It is true that on the 8th of this month, the reversing Mercury meets up with the Sun in your 9th house, and that could be a day when you have a eureka moment. Sit up and think, oh my word, I could reconfigure this in some kind of way and make this work. Just because Mercury is retrograde, don't see it as a time you can't do anything. See it as a time when you should be doing the things to fix the things that haven't been working around your 9th house. Information, knowledge, anything to do with qualifications. This is a great time to get busy. But from the 4th to the 10th, Venus is squaring up with Uranus. So if there is a relationship which has been a bit unsteady, a little bit turbulent, the chances are the truth really can spill out into the open. And, you know, it's going to be unfiltered. And even if it's painful, whether it's you being incredibly frank or it's somebody else, it's going to be a good thing because it's going to release energy that's been stored up and locked in for a long time. One of the wonderful things, I mean, my Draconic Sun's in Gemini. I also have loads of third house. My Mercury's in the third house, very, very Gemini. And also in sidereal astrology, my Sun sits on my natal Mercury in Western astrology in the third house. So I think I'm quite a Gemini type person myself. We do find we get bored easily. So this is a month where you need to head that off, particularly if there is big limitations where you're living. But on the 11th, there's a glorious new moon, which is really giving you an opportunity to be much more excited about what the future holds. We're not going to be controlled in this way forever. If we think back historically through some of the very, very challenging periods in the history of personkind, times move on. I mean, the 1918 flu pandemic was dreadful. Far more people died of that, I think, so far than have of COVID. And that's not me playing down not one single COVID death. And also with COVID, it's not just who dies, it's the amount of infectivity, which is obviously rampant, causes a lot of problems, and has inflicted a lot of limitation on people's sense of freedom, but also financially. And I don't think the Spanish flu was quite as infectious as this. So I'm not downplaying that. But there is going to be a time when new hope comes in. And you can be one of the leaders in that new hope, especially from the 11th and that glorious new moon. Also close by to that new moon, a fantastic link between Venus and Jupiter, the lesser and greater benefics. In the sector of the 9th house, any links to overseas to do with property, you know, if you do an overseas lottery, for example, I'm not guaranteeing that you're going to win the jackpot, but something good can happen about a connection with something or somebody at a distance, and it could be to do with property, could be to do with a contract. And there is also a wonderful semi-sextile on that new moon with Pluto. Pluto, the planet of change, which is really pushing you to evolve around your resources. Now on the 18th, the Sun does move to the top of your horoscope, the midheaven, joining up with Neptune, which has created some confusion, I think, over the last 8 years. It's probably seen you shine in any job that's to do with compassion, perception, anything to do with sensitivity to others. So if you work in a nursing environment or a care environment, or you work as a counsellor or a healer or a therapist, you've probably really shone during that time. But I do feel that the Sun moving into this area, followed by Venus on the 25th, gives you an opportunity to try and get a bit more a bit more traction, because Neptune here has been distorting the North Node in your sign, which is that notional, emotional direction of travel that we're all pulled towards. And because that has been a long-standing right angle, I think it's caused quite a lot of confusion for you, quite honestly, over the last few months. And I think Venus and the Sun moving into Pisces is a chance to try to get a little bit more clarity about where you're going to take your next steps forward as far as your professional hopes, goals and ambitions, responsibilities are concerned. Now, the 21st sees Mercury go direct. That's something we'd all welcome. And for you, anything that you've been waiting for, documentation, tickets, getting the green light to travel somewhere if it's something that's been booked for some while, that's all possible from then. But I think the main part of the confusion around how we move around and anything to do with international borders for you is going to be resolved more by the middle of March, sadly. I don't think it's quite going to be as, not in its entirety, as Mercury goes direct. 25th, I told you Venus goes into Pisces. Venus likes being in Pisces. So this is a chance where you can use your charm to great effect. On the 27th, there is, however, a full moon in the fourth solar house of your situation, which is to do with your home, your sense of security, your sense of physical safety, and that is forging a link with Uranus. So Uranus is being in your 12th house, causing that nervous energy, that little bit of an edge. Something between your home and work life may need realigning as this month draws to a close. And I think that realignment might be because you need to be more conscious of the psychological side of your nature. So you're an incredibly capable person. You're doing something that you're very good at. But if you're not really engaged, Uranus is pushing you to do something different, to make a change, because especially if you're getting sort of any kind of stress, even if it's low grade stress, headaches, you're not really feeling buoyed up by what you're doing, Uranus is saying, how can you change that? Now, it could be working from home might be one of your options as you make your way into the first 2 weeks of March and surf the back of that particular full moon. But something will need a realigning. I do think so. It's also true to say that from the 3rd to the 9th of this month, Venus is in a conjunction with Saturn. If you really need to know the truth of a relationship, there's never a better time than then. Also, in weeks 2 and 3, Mars is in a sextile with Neptune. I think that's really saying that stuff you do behind the scenes this month, perhaps contributing towards making your plan towards what you really, really want to do, I think some of your approach doesn't need to be particularly obvious. It doesn't necessarily need to be particularly visible. So working behind the scenes in a slow and patient way, building up your alliances, that can also be a smart thing to do as well. So a lot of excitement in the first 2/3 of the month, a lot of focus on career and responsibility and goals and aims in the last 10 days. Been a pleasure being with you, Gemini. Stay safe, take care, good luck, and goodbye.